Good day, everybody, all over the world. Today is a special day. My name is Todd Saylor, and I'm wired differently, and I know you're wired differently too, and we're going to talk about that. But I want to get started here, and I want you to let you know that this is going to be one of the most powerful messages you've ever heard. It's going to be one of the most significant points in your life, and I can't wait to share this with you. So first thing we got to do is pray. So can we all just pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for this moment. Thank you for this time. Thank you for the people that are gathered on this conference. Thank you for the thoughts. Thank you for our minds. Thank you for our conscious and subconscious. Thank you for all the wonderful things that you've given us and what you're going to give us, Lord. We understand, Lord, that the most powerful weapon any warrior can have is actually his mind. And we're grateful. And we are warriors for a year. We are kingdom building summit leaders. We've been pulled together to talk about these very things. Lord, I ask that you lift me up to lift others up in this message. Please, Lord, fill me with your spirit. Fill these men and other people and women with your spirit, Lord, so this message will move on their heart. I'm so excited for this moment. And I just want to thank you, Lord Jesus, for this opportunity, and thank you for the moving in their lives that are occurring right now. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Kingdom building summit leadership. I'm like so excited. So I don't even think people are prepared for what my energy is. And so I just want to warn you, I talk fast, I get excited, and I want my energy of this, I guess, wired differentiality, attitudinal disorder I have to leak out of me so that you can actually understand a little bit about what it's like being wired differently, what it's like to be excited for my walk with Christ, what it's like for me to be excited about doing business in a godly way, for what it's like to be winning on the stage of business and excellence on a regular basis, Lord. And I want you to let all these people know that. I want you guys to know, all you people, that you can do this. And the title of this message today is, do you even know what you want? I mean, do you even know what you want? I mean, I love just saying the title. I got my friends in here that are filming this, and Raj and Ninja Mike, and I asked them, do you even know what you want? And I can get you what you want because God's laid this thing out for us already. I'm like, you don't even need to buy my motivational book, Wired Differently. You don't need to buy any motivational books. You can go right to the Bible right now and find anything you need. So I want to lift you all up and understand that, yes, I'm wired differently. My name is Todd Saylor. I'm going to be telling you about, do you even know what you want? And I'm going to give you the 5 Ds of acceptance that's going to allow you to get what you want actually by the end of this message. That's the most exciting thing I'm going to tell you. But we've got to understand some things. What is wired differently, Todd? Why are you talking about your brand so much? Why are you parlaying this wired differentiality thing? Well, I wrote a book, actually, right here. It's called Wired Differently. It's been out for a little over a year. I've sold more than I could have even imagined in the beginning. I have a workbook as well, and we're going to give you all the opportunity to get this stuff digitally downloaded and all for you at the end of this stuff. I want you to understand, Wired Differently. Wired Differently is this attitudinal disorder that I have. This attitudinal thing that just exudes out of me and will help make me successful. Because when I wrote the book, I was actually trying to figure out, why have I been so successful? And so when I asked that question, why have I been so successful, the first thing that was hard for me to actually deal with is saying I was successful. Being somewhat braggadocious, if you will, or being willing to say, yes, I have been successful. So the journey was on. What was special about me? What is different about me? What has created the successes from the time I was maybe a little boy to even now in my life? Now, I haven't been successful in everything. I've had some epic failures. I've had some just discouraging moments. I've actually ruined relationships. I've went through a lot of the things that most people have went through, but for some reason, over time, the book of Wired Differently writes of my quest of understanding why I was successful. The book is about perseverance and owning who you are. And I think those are the 2 key things that came out in the Wired Differently book. And I can't wait for you to get it and read it and understand how special you are and how God has made you. But I want to tell you that as I took this quest on, this journey of what is different about me, what is going on? Why has it been luck? Or how has it happened so often? And as I looked through things, I realized, hey, I guess I'm just different. I'm just different. I do things a little differently. I get up a little earlier. I go to bed a little later. I ruminate about things a little awkwardly. I'm actually kind of a misfit. I know you were there too. I mean, I know that we're just, our dreams are big, our ideas are big, or some of our depressions are very low, and some of our downs are very down, and some of our highs are very high. And it's just this idea that I was different, and I had to face the fact that I'm different and own the fact that I'm different. And then I just came up with this clear idea that I'm just wired differently. And I know you're wired differently. And that quest took me to realize those things, that I'm different and I'm actually wired different. But as I went through all my successes and talked about the things to myself, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and I had several people even ask me, Todd, how did you do it? And it's funny because when they asked me how I did it, I was like, well, what are you talking about? What did I do? What are you exactly talking about? In my 40s and then finally in my late 40s and 50s, I said, I better just kind of explore this and figure it out. I am different. So some things worked, some things didn't work. Some things worked really well, some things didn't work very well. But what I realized, though, that the things that were happening weren't by accident. They weren't, because a business plan is not luck. You don't write a business plan, you don't talk about winning and winning games and winning businesses and winning in relationships, winning in love, winning in all these things, but let's institute a playbook called luck. It's just not going to happen. The things that were working were not by accident. The things that had worked through my life were purposely supreme, which I realized that I was a supremely purposeful person. As I dove into that, I started to realize, how am I supremely purposeful? What's going on in this supremely purposeful component? And so a while back, I talked about manifestation in a story about a little boy who was with his father golfing, and the little boy was probably 12 years old, and he got up to the tee and he looked at the ball and he lined up on the ball and he said, Dad, I'm going to hit this ball. I'm going to hit it so far off the tee, it's going to go around the corner, over the creek, around the tree. It's going to land right on the green. It's going to roll up and go right into the hole. And the father looked at his son and said, are you crazy? You can't do that. Well, the idea of manifestation was in this little boy's mind already, and I want you to understand and grab that that little boy had already mastered and thought about this idea of manifesting. Unfortunately, that gift that he had was throttled by his father in that moment. But the point I want to make is that manifestation is real. We are born innately with some of these things, and some of us are just born with more of this manifest. Some of us are just wired differently. Some of us are just more attitudinally disordered in this regard. So I thought to myself, I said, so why are more leaders like my position? Why are not more men or women in my position that have been successful in life not talking about this leadership component of manifestation, not talking about actually sharing why they have been successful? I feel like it's incumbent on me to share with you the most secret component of my success in my life that I didn't find out until I wrote a book, and even further dug into it after I wrote the book about being supremely purposeful. So here's what I want to share with you. I want to talk to you about how to become supremely purposeful. I want to do it through these 5 Ds. These 5 Ds, I want you to know that the laws of acceptance are going to allow you to get what you want in life immediately when we start to apply these 5 Ds and we work through this. But before I get to those 5 Ds, I got you to understand what we've got to do in the beginning of all this to get to the 5 Ds so that we can get the things that we want. So here's kind of what happened to me, and the story and the background is I was probably, I just feel like everything's 12 years old in my life. It's just like the most sequential years of my life. And my father, if you follow my stories on YouTube, or if you follow me on Wired Differently Facebook or YouTube Wired Differently Todd Saylor, you're going to see a lot of stories. You're going to see a lot of speeches and a lot of teachings. And a lot of my stories come from when I was a child. They come from around my father because he was so impactful on me. But this particular story, I think, is a beautiful setup for me trying to explain how this is going to work for you. And I know I'm moving fast, and I know I'm excited, but I just can't help it. I got to get it out. So here's the deal. I was probably 12. After elementary school, I would walk across the street. And I would go across the street, down the sidewalk, and I can see it right now. I'm literally envisioning it right now. And I went through the locker room, and my father was a football coach. He was probably the greatest high school football coach to ever live. At this particular time, he had won 5 seasons in a row. They never lost or tied. And he was 1972, something like that. And I would just love being around him. So I'd get to there and I would hand out water and I'd hand out salt pad tablets back when they would do that. Now I'm talking about football, the oblong football for you all over the world. You got to understand, we're not talking about the soccer ball, we're talking about the oblong football in the helmets. But I would go over there and I was just so eager to give water and salt tablets and help my dad and help the players. They were all so kind to me. They were pouring into me. But this day was different. This day was real different because I remember walking on the sideline and looking out at the field, and it was just remarkable. Because there was no helmets, there was no footballs, and these players were just rolling around on the field, crawling under ropes, slithering through mud. And I could hear in the distance, if you don't get up, you're gonna die. You can't quit. Don't quit on me. And I could see other players like picking other players up, and the coaches yelling at these players with exhaustion. They're laying on the ground, warning them if they don't get up the ground, they're going to die. And it was just really a blur for me because I didn't understand. I was there for football practice, but it wasn't happening. And then I looked across further down the field, and there was one big player, and he had another player over his shoulder, and he was trudging down the field, step by step, not 20 meters, not 30 meters. Carrying a human being on his shoulder, not 40 meters, but 50 meters. His knees are buckling. He's wondering if he can make it. And the coaches are yelling at his ear, if you don't do this, you die. You can't quit. Don't give up. It's just a remarkable moment. I can see it right now. My father, he meanders over to me on the sideline as I'm witnessing this entire practice and the exchanges of differentiality, this moment of sheer change in my life. He said, son, what's wrong? I said, Dad, I don't understand. I don't understand why there's no footballs. I don't understand why these men are worrying about dying. I don't understand why they're trying so hard to live at football practice. I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand what you're coaching football today. He said, son, I love you, but I want you to know that today I'm not a football coach. I'm actually never a football coach. And I said, Dad, well, what are you? I thought you were the greatest football coach to ever live. He said, son, I'm a coach of men. I build men. I build people. That's what I do. And I knew from that moment on that at 12 or 13 years old, that it was never going to be the same. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew that I wanted to be like him. I knew I had actually started to manifest in my mind that I wanted to be a leader of men. I literally, at the age of 12 or 13, manifested that I'd be standing right here, right now, talking to you all over the world about if you even knew what you want and how you could get it and the power of your brain to deliver these things for you. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. And I got one more thing I just need to share with you, because the power of this manifest, the power of your subconscious, the power of everything that your mind and God has given to us as warriors for Him, the power of unleashing those things that I'm going to deliver for you today is most significantly going to be the biggest reminder or the best thing you've heard in your entire life. I was probably 15 years old when I ran into a beautiful woman at a track meet, and it turns out that she didn't really care about me, but I thought she was pretty cool. And the next year, around 16 years old, she was at the opposite field again from another school, and I saw her and I said hi to her, and she didn't say much to me, but I knew for some reason when I saw that woman that she was special to me, and I kept her in the back of my mind for not since I was 15, not since I was 16, not since I was 17. I would run into her 2 or 3 times when at track meets and things, and finally my senior year I ran into her exclusively, and I said hi to her, and she said hi to me, and that was about it. But the funny thing is that I knew that she was special. I felt like if I carried that vision or that person with me, that someday something great would happen in that regards. I wanted to that person. I wanted to get this girl. And the interesting thing is, I carried it with me, and I went to college, and this is a great story because I went to college, and it turns out that she's going to college there, and I was flipping through the yearbook pictures before they got printed, and there was her picture, and I literally cut it out of some pre-shots, and I put it, just for the fun of it, I stuck it in my little clock I had back in the day in the 83, 84, we had a little digital clock, and I stuck her picture right there, and I would think about, man, if I could just get this girl someday, wouldn't it be great? And I've been thinking about her for years, and sure enough, this infamous day happened. We were at a school dance, and there I was with my date, walking down the way, and I was just feeling like a big deal and everything, and there she was. Oh my gosh. I was so nervous. I saw her, and she was with a man, another man, a basketball player, basketball player. I was a football player, and I was walking with my date, and she was walking at me with a date, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I thought, oh man, I hope she remembers me. And as I walked by here, I just kind of slithered ever so gently, and I said, hi, Tracy. And as I just kind of felt her just gentle wind past my shoulder, it was just remarkable, and I didn't hear any response. And as I kind of relaxed and moved through the motion, I heard her say, hi, Todd. I'm like, oh, she remembered. She remembered me, and all I could get on my mind was her. I had a date. I took the date right back to her dorm, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what I said to her. I said, I'm not feeling well, I gotta go. I went all the way back up to my room, and my roommate was sitting up there, and I said, hey, Bobby, you aren't gonna believe it. I saw Tracy at the dance, and she was with another date, and I gotta figure out how this, but I've gotta get her. I can't let her be another minute with this other man. I've gotta do something. Now's the time. I've been thinking about this for 4 or 5 years. And he said, who's Tracy? And I said, well, this girl right here in my clock, Tracy. He says, isn't that your girlfriend? I said, no, she's not my girlfriend. I've just been thinking about her. He goes, that's weird, Todd. I said, whatever, Bob. So here's the deal, Bob. I gotta do something. I've got to get this girl. I can't wait any longer. It's been 5 years, and every minute makes. He says, well, what are you gonna do? I said, I'm calling her. So I get up, I go all the way down to the payphone, I pick up the paper, and I say, the desk lady says, who do you want? I said, Tracy. They give it to Tracy, and I say, whew. She's either gonna ring, 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 ring. Hello? Hello? Tracy? Hi, this is Tracy. I said, hey, Tracy, this is Todd. I just saw you a little while ago down at the dance, and I was going by, and I was just thinking, hey, maybe Saturday night we should go out on a date. Oh, Todd, I'm sorry about that. I already have a date for Saturday, and that's just not going to work out. And I said, okay, Tracy, that's fine. Anyways, I'll see you Saturday at 8. Hung up the phone. Well, I backed out of my room. I said, Bobby. I just asked her out, and she said she had a date. He said, what'd you do? I said, I'd see her at 8. He goes, what? I said, yeah. I said, I'll see her at 8. He says, oh, man, you're crazy. I said, well, what are you going to do now? He says, listen, you just got to sit here and be calm. I said, I can't be calm. And ring, 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 ring. So the payphone all the way to the other end of the building rings, and I'm going flying down there, and I hear Tim McCready say, hey, Todd, it's Tracy. And I'm like, yes. So I'm all the way back down on the phone. I said, hello, Tracy? Oh, yeah. Hi, Todd. I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard me or not, but I can't go out with you Saturday night. I got a date at 8, and I just want to make sure you heard me okay. And I said, oh, yeah, that. Well, I'll see you at 8. Hang up the phone again. I go right all the way down to my room. I said, Bobby, that was definitely Tracy. And she said she had a date. She doubled down. He says, what are you going to do? I told her I'd be there at 8. He goes, are you crazy? I mean, at this point, I really feel like I am crazy. And then sure enough, the phone rings one more time. Ring, 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 ring. This Tim McCready comes out of his room. He says, would you answer the phone? This crazy lady's calling again. I said, no, go all the way down there. It was the longest walk ever. I get all the way down there. I pick up the phone. I said, hello? She says, hi, Todd. This is Tracy. I said, oh, hi, Tracy. She goes, I just want you to know, I broke my date. I'll see you at 8. So I love that story. That story, now I've lived and been married to my wife Tracy for 32 years. That story played out famously for me. And the only reason I tell that story is because it's another version of manifestation. Knowing what you want and how powerful your brain is and how these things actually work in real life. And I wouldn't spend so much time on myself because it's my favorite subject. And I want you to know that it should be your favorite subject, yourself. You should understand who you are, become who you want to be. But I want to share these real life stories of things that have worked in my life, understanding my supremely purposeful background. So as a leader, I just got to tell you, I've got to double down to this. Do you even know what you want? It's incumbent on me to breathe these things. I want you to drink these things in. I want you to listen to me very so carefully. I want you taking notes and shoring up on this. And I want you to replay this message again and again as we go through the 5 Ds of acceptance. So this is all the beginning of success. Napoleon Hill once said that desire is the beginning of all achievement. A brilliant, brilliant man, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And a lot of these things that have been said before, you can follow them back, and they've really worked out in my life, and I want to share them with you. That only 1 out of 100 people in this world are successful to wealth and riches. Only 5 out of 100 by the age of 65 are going to attain some type of security in this world. And the good news is though, those 5 people that attain that success have become supremely purposeful in what they do. And I am beating this because I want you to know it. I want you to feel it in your, I want you to really immerse yourself and sell out and not be afraid to be just a little different, be just a little weird, and stretch your mind in this regard. So then what is success? Well, success is clearly this. You can't execute a plan if you don't have one. Success is the mere fact of executing a plan. Write that down. You cannot execute a plan if you don't have one. You cannot execute a plan. So success is this whole idea of accomplishing your plan. I think becoming a millionaire is stupid. I think it's better for you to become what's called a successionaire. A successionaire, someone who focuses on being successful, maybe 100,000 times, maybe 1,000,000 times, and now you're a successionaire. And once you have that mastered, money will come, the followings will come, the trappings will come, and yeah, we want things, and that's one of the things about being wired differently. I think you all need to embrace. You want more. It's not wrong. It's not wrong to want more. It's how we do it and how we share it and how we build it and how we give it back and all the things. But if we become successionaires, we're on our way. So as we move on to the 5 Ds and how you're going to get what you want, I first got to make sure you understand the most important thing of being a successful person. I'm going to ask this rhetorical question one more time. Do you even know what you want? Well, I'm going to get you there. And once you got that figured out, you're over halfway there. So do you even know what you want? The 5 Ds of acceptance. So here we go. This is broke down into 3 different parts. Part 1 is the laws of nature. Part 2 is conscious versus subconscious. And part 3, I'm going to go through the 5 Ds. Dream it, determine it, design it, define it, and draw it. Once we get to those, we're there, baby. So let's get through this thing. So the first thing I want to talk about in part 1 is the laws of nature. This isn't going to take a lot of time because you're smart people, and I want you to understand that God has created nature. He's created this world, and He's created the laws of nature. And you need to understand this basic, primitive concept that drives everything here on this world, that there are laws in this world, laws of nature that happen 100% of the time. 100%. Doesn't miss. For instance, the law of gravity, the law of acceptance, the law of love, the law of war, the law of gravity, as we just spoke of, the law of action, all these laws, and there's so many of them we can't go, but these things happen all the time. We have no power over them. And guess what? These laws of nature are indiscriminate of how good of a person you are or how bad a person you are. They're indiscriminate. So the law of, let's take the law of gravity, for instance, the law of gravity. Let's say a very murderous person, a bad person is in the top of a building 100 flights high, and he falls off the roof. He will plummet to a very, very bad ending on the pavement. The same person at the same level, 100 levels up, who could be this perfect person, someone spotless, someone just like my wife, almost pristine, right? Mother Teresa, like this person could fall off that same building and they would fall at the same rate, the same depth, to the same peril. The law of gravity happens 100% of the time. The law of planting happens 100% of the time. The law of acceptance happens. The laws of war happen. These are 100% proven laws that we need to put our mind and brain and soul into the fact that they do happen and they will happen. So let's use them to our favor. And keep in mind that they're indiscriminate of if you're a good person, a Christ-like person, or whatever you are. There's just indiscriminate. And I'm going to get back to that. So the laws of nature happen. It's no different. Anybody can, the laws of electricity work the way they work, right? I mean, a 4-year-old boy can flip the light switch on just like that. A nuclear physicist, plutonium radioactive neuron genius, goes over to the same light switch and does the same thing. It's a law. It's indiscriminate of brain power, matter. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that. So once we've got that understood, now we've got to talk about the conscious versus the subconscious. Part 2, the conscious versus the subconscious. So here's what's going on in your brain 24/7. It's scrolling constantly. Thought. 24/7. Did you realize we can only think of one thought at a time? One thought at a time. And it's 24/7. But it's constantly going. This is really good stuff. I want you to think about it. You may have known it, but you don't think about it because I'm just telling you, I never did before I even wrote the book Wired Different. This will brought me here. So it's constantly scrolling. It's just like if you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is and you're just going through, scrolling through images. Story. Stop. And then at some point you stop and you start to read and listen and digest what's going on. That's your conscious mind streaming 24/7. And at some particular time, it decides, your prefrontal cortex, which is at the top of your brain, decides to stop on some incident, some image, some powerful thing that it's going to start to process deeper into your brain. 24/7 conscious. And then at some point, your prefrontal cortex decides it wants that. It wants to see more of that. It wants to determine more of that. It wants to drink it just a little deeper. And if you look at it long enough and you study it long enough, it's going to find its way into your subconscious. 24/7 conscious thoughts. Sooner or later, certain thoughts drip into your subconscious. Now your subconscious, once it gets through the prefrontal cortex decision gateway, starts to land certain thoughts. And these certain thoughts are the things that happen because your subconscious is a doer. Your subconscious is a doer. It's constantly doing. And here, watch this. On the laws of nature, your subconscious is a doer of things that land there. And those things are going to happen, right? And what's going to happen is that your subconscious is just like the law of nature. It's not discriminate of good thoughts or bad thoughts. And I want to double down on this because here's the real life story. Here's the truth of the matter is when it gets into your subconscious, deeply rooted into your subconscious, it's going to happen. That's the law of acceptance. That when you accept something enough, it's going to happen. And when it lands in your subconscious, it's going to happen. So I want you to understand, it's not just about finding the things that where prefrontal cortex is going to be more directed because we want you to pick the right things to put in your subconscious. But more importantly, I want you to realize if you're not directing your thoughts, processing through to your subconscious, the scrolling motion lets things through that it shouldn't. Scroll. Bad words. Bad images. Things about the opposite sex. Movies. Videos. They get deposited. Yes, I'm talking about pornography. Those things land in your subconscious. And worse things, bad news, bad information, these things that start to land in your subconscious because your prefrontal cortex is not being controlled by you. It's just running on autopilot. You want to be discriminate on what you let through your prefrontal cortex so it deposits the right thing. Let me tell you, friends, the worst thing you can do is let your mind dwell on images, thoughts, processes, disrespectful things that saturate your brain and settle in your subconscious, because those things are going to happen. I want to share it. We've got the laws of nature. We've got the conscious versus the subconscious. Now I want to get down to part 3. Man, the money part of this whole presentation is the 5 Ds of acceptance. So we've got through the wire differently open. We've got through the laws of nature. Now we got through the understanding of conscious versus subconscious. Now we got to understand the 5 Ds of acceptance, because here's what's happening. Now that you know what you want, now we just got to go through this simple exercise, because you're going to get what you want, because we're going to deposit it in your subconscious. The first thing we got to do is decide, what do we want? Well, the first thing we got to do is dream it. Now, when you dream something, I want you to dream big. I want you to take the gloves off, and I don't want you to worry about if you can afford it. I don't want you to worry about what other people are going to think, because when you start to do that, it constricts your mind flow. It constricts your thoughts. It constricts you from being who you really want to be. So I want you to take the gloves off. I want you to imagine that house. I want you to dream that car. I want you to dream that partner. I want you to dream the business that we're about ready to build. I want you to dream where you're going to take your business. You need to do that. You need to dream it. Dream it big. Dream it thoroughly. Really focus on it. I know some of this may sound silly, but it's not. This is what's going to happen. It's happened to me. It's going to happen to you. And by the end of this message, you're going to get what you want, and you're going to be going in that direction. The next thing I want you to do is then determine it. I want you to say, I'm going to get that house. I'm going to get that girl. I'm going to get that business. I'm going to get that car. I've just determined it. So I've dreamed it. Now I've determined it. And now I need to design it. So in my brain, I'm designing just like how I was going to get the girl. I designed that I was going to meet her one day, and I didn't know what I was going to say, but I designed what I would say, and then I designed it how I was going to do it. And now, just as like, for instance, the little boy. When I was a little boy, I started design speaking in front of people. I started design being leaders of other people and other men, and I just would design it. So I dreamed it. I determined it and designed it. And think about those things were happening without me understanding what was going on. And now we have the power to control these things. So we got to dream it, we've got to determine it, we designed it, and now I want you to define it. And this is probably one of the most important and fun things about the 5 Ds is I want you to literally define it, because here's the problem with the power of our brain. We've got to really define it. We've got to tell the brain, the subconscious, exactly what we want, because it's going to go get it. So for instance, I have a story that I relate to this, and my attorney Jim McIntyre talked to me about. He said he had a dream one day. He said I had a dream, Todd, and I really wanted to go on a voyage. I wanted to go sail the seas. I wanted to see all the beautiful land, and he visioned all of it. And then he said, you know what happened? I said, what? He said, I was in the Navy. So because he dreamed it, he determined it, but he didn't detail it, right? So he thought he was going to buy a boat and go out, but he got his wish, but he was in the Navy. And I think that's a funny story, but I think it's true. We've got to detail it. And the other thought would be, like, for instance, let's say my daughter, she visioned herself like counting lots of $20 bills, and she was just counting them. She was piled with gold around her. She said, Dad, I see gold bullion. I see $100 bills, and all I do all day is I'm just going to be counting all my money. And I'm like, wow, that's a big deal. And you know what happened to her? She found herself working at a bank. She was counting OPM, baby, other people's money. I said, baby, you got to be thinking about your money. You got to be thinking about your $100 bills. You got to be thinking about. So, see, I want you to understand that we've got to dream it, we got to determine it, we got to design it, and we got to define it. And the last thing I'm going to tell you, we're about to close on this. I want you to understand the last D. You have to draw it. And you have to draw it. You have to go through this process of going through these things, controlling what's getting to your subconscious. Because once you draw it, you're then going to plan it, right? I remember it as clear as day. The first company I ever built was Payserve Systems. We're in this conference room right now. Maybe they can show a camera span of it, but we're in this conference room, and it was in 2001, 2002, when I was sitting with a friend, Mike Lechner, maybe, Mike, and I said, Mike, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to make this company, and here's what I see. And I flipped over the Bob Evans placemat, and I drew all the companies, and I drew all the feeders, and I drew the sales process. I remember drawing all the sweeping arrows and the PERT diagram, and I showed it. I said, this is it. 2020. Payserve Systems is one of the best HCMs in the planet. We're number 10 in the Kronos platform. We're doing processing, payroll, and HR all over the country. We're in every state. And can you imagine, it started on the back of a Bob Evans spreadsheet that I drew, because I planted that seed at that moment. So once you draw it, I drew a house. My first house, I drew the house in great detail. My second house, I drew in great detail. And I got those exact houses because after I drew it, after I dreamed it, after I determined it, after I defined it, after I designed it, after I drew it, what did I do? I planted it. So I want you to take that drawing. You can laugh if you want. Take that drawing, fold it up, and plant it. You don't even have to go back to it. Because at this point, you're just a farmer. You're a farmer. And that's another law of nature. You plant something, it grows. But here's the interesting thing. If you want a mango tree, don't plant an apple tree. If you want a banana tree, I got a banana tree. Don't plant a plum tree. I mean, just think about it. You need to plant exactly what you want. So make sure you've done the 5 Ps. I want you to dream it. I want you to determine it. I want you to design it. I want you to detail it. And I want you to draw it. And then I want you to plant it. Because if you go back out there and you dig up this drawing, or if you're a farmer and you dig up a seed, you're just a faithless farmer. You're a faithless, foolish farmer. Because after you've drawn it and you've planted it, now I want you to say, thank you. Thank you. This is going to be mine. This is a process that's going to make this mine. And I want you to believe that. And I want you to understand that when you explain this to some people, you're going to say, yeah, I heard the most amazing message from Todd Saylor. He told me about the 5 Ds of acceptance. He talked to me about the consciousness, subconscious. He talked to me about the laws of nature. I mean, he was so compelling and so exciting. But here, what's going on is I'm going to get this car. I'm going to get this house. And this business I'm building, I'm going to get it because I believe it. I've accepted it. And I know it's a law of nature. And they're going to look at you and they're going to say, have you gone crazy? And you're going to say what? You're going to say, no, I haven't gone crazy. It's going to work. Let me tell you why you're going to say no. Because I know you're wired differently. And I know you can say no. I know you've said no to your mother. I know you've said no to your father. I know you've said no to your coaches. I know you've said no to your mentors. I know you've said no to your spouse. I know you've said no. And I know you even said no to God. So don't tell me that you're going to let one person tell you no. One person tell you that it's silly. Don't tell me that you don't have enough bandwidth, enough belief structure in what we're talking and what you want to tell them no. So in conclusion, we've got the 5 Ds in acceptance. We want you to dream it. We want you to determine it. We want you to design it. We want you to define it and draw it. And I just kind of, in closing, I just want to make sure if we can get to this board here. Here is basically the beginning and the opening. And I want you to think about these things. Do you even know what you want? So I asked you, what have you stored in your mind as you're growing up? What are your stories? What are your manifested moments? Can you reel back and see, hey, this has worked for me. I was supremely purposeful in this, and look how it turned out. I need you to draw on that inventory. Then I want you to explain why you're wired differently and why you're attitudinally disordered. Then I want you to say, who are you What are you? Todd explained what he was. I want you to do it for yourself. And then I want, what is it about you that's special? Because you're special. You're the best in the world at your craft. You're the best. So your quest is on. Now your quest, your journey, what has worked for you in the past? I want you to prove to yourself what I'm telling you about the 5 Ds that have worked for you. I'm telling you, this is powerful stuff. And then I want you to say, you are different, and own who you are, and be willing to change who you are by becoming who you want to be. I'm so excited. You are actually wired differently. You want to own it to be it. What worked and what didn't work. You know it didn't work because it wasn't by accident. We know it did work because it was on purposefully minded things. They were supremely purposeful. Can you share more of the success? Will you be the 1 out of 100 that's successful? And do you even know what you want? Let me tell you something. You got to know what you want. You can't get success if you don't know what you want. So here's part 1. We went over the laws, gravity, the success. We learned the laws of nature. Part 2, we talked about conscious versus subconscious. We're bringing this baby home right now, okay? Part 3, we need to know that we have 5 Ds. We got to dream it. We got to determine it. We got to design it. We got to define it. And we got to draw it. We're almost there, my friends. And in this close, I want you to understand. I feel like I'm on stage. My heart is racing at 100 miles an hour, and I know you're feeling this. So here we go. This is the close. We are a sum of our thoughts. We are exactly what our surroundings are. We are a perfect picture of what we think. Are you digging this? Are you thinking this? Are you understanding it? What I am speaks so loudly you can't hear me. What I'm doing in front of you right now, my actions, my energy, my commitment to excellence, my commitment not to waver in the fact that you can do all these things speaks so loudly you might be not even hearing my words. Lastly but not least, chapter 2 of my book, Wired Differently, page 11. Success is a condition, not a position. Success is a condition, not a position. We need to understand that success is not just a position, but a condition. Our entire life is about being in a condition of success. In the workbook, we talk about it. All my book, by the way, my book, in the workbook, in speaking, and this, we got a 6-pack digital that we're going to send you. Hopefully we can get to that. But listen to me. So as we close, I want you to understand Proverbs 23:7. As a man thinketh, is he. As a man thinketh, is he. Proverbs 23:7. We've all probably heard that because we're Christian people. We read the Bible, the greatest motivational book ever. And in Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh, is he. But here's where I want all this to come together for you. Here's why I want this all to be super exciting for you. Here's where really the culmination of changing your life is this. The very fact that God said, as a man thinketh is he. We dive into that scripture just a little deeper and it says, as a man thinketh with his heart. With his heart is he. So follow me what I'm saying here. If we know the laws of nature happen 100% of the time, if we know that conscious versus the subconscious is the beginning of all things that we want, and your prefrontal cortex drops your thoughts into your subconscious, and we know that deeply embedded, and those are the things that happen. And then we find out that God said, what you think of in your heart is you. So we have to only come to the final determinant that your heart is your subconscious, right? Your heart is where all your inner thoughts, all your beings, and all your wants go. All the heart is the thing that is indiscriminate of whether it's good or bad. And when we drink in Jesus Christ from Proverbs 23:7 and we deposit Christ into our heart, it solidifies the fact that our subconscious is protected by Christ, and he's going to bring these thoughts through you and manifest in your life because we know these things are true. They are evident and true. And this is the most powerful thing that you need to understand because I love you. And I'm brave enough to tell you that this worked for me. And I want you brave enough to ask yourself, do you even know what you want? Because once you're there, now all we need is the 5 Ds. Proverbs 23:7, as you think of with your heart, will you be. I appreciate this time with all of you. I appreciate the launching opportunity you've given me to talk to you. I appreciate everything. So I hope to meet you and see you someday, and I hope to connect with you on social media. It's going to be a great time, and you are a changed person right now today because you listen to this, and I encourage you to listen to it more and more. I really love the fact that you invited me into your mind, your heart, your soul, and I want to be a part of your subconscious, delivering Jesus Christ and all the goodness and the power of your subconscious. Because when you think about things out of the blue, from now on you know they're coming from your subconscious, your heart. God bless you all. Let's go do this kingdom building thing successfully, you entrepreneurs, men of God. Thanks so much. Have a great day. God bless you. Todd Saylor here, I'm back, and I just wanted to thank you so much for listening and watching my talk. Now I want to get you an amazing six-pack. No, not a washboard stomach, actually something even better. You see, my friends, we all win or lose based on what we actually believe and deposit into our subconscious. And believe me, I've learned this the hard way. So I've actually taken some of my best teachings and put them into a digital six-pack just for you. So here's what you get in this digital six-pack when you purchase it. My groundbreaking book, Wired Differently, ebook form. 2, my Wired Differently work ebook, so you can study my principles in a group or individually. 3, my Wired Differently audiobook, so you can listen to the book on your device at your convenience, anytime, anywhere. 4, my live speech and training session for CEOs I actually performed this year at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. 5, a cool Wired Differently Zoom background so you can share the fact that you're wired differently on all your Zoom calls. 6, my 11-step coaching series, challenging you to escape what we call the land of quo. Now, watch this though. Purchase this digital six-pack for $20 US during this summit, and I'll add something even more special. I'll add what we call an extra Wired Differently entrepreneurial bonus for just you people. A $70 credit off my upcoming WDEX Entrepreneurial Huddle. It's a virtual huddle just for you. All of this for just, yes, $20 US. So click here and let's do this thing called life. Wired Differently.